Hello and welcome. I'm Rick Roller, and I'll be working with you tonight on some very pertinent questions that you might want to, really check out and have a good handle on because you are preparing to take the Utah real estate exam, most of you. And a lot of the stuff that we talk about is national, but tonight we're going to be talking about our contract, our real estate purchase contract, and some of the clauses and some of the provisions that it has in it. And we have about 13 questions to go through thereabouts, and we'll be looking at those right now, starting with number one. Here we go. Also manning the computer tonight is Dan Naylor, the owner of our school and the host with the mostest. You've received an earnest money payment in connection with an accept. In other words, they brought the earnest money in because the offer got accepted. By law and absent any other agreement between the parties, what is the status of that money? We got A, B, C, and D. You have your choice, one of the four here, okay? In the first one, A, the money must be deposited in the trust account within 3 calendar days. B, the money must be deposited in the trust account within 3 banking days. Okay. C, the money must be deposited in trust account within 3 working days. Or D, the money must be deposited in trust account the day received. Now, obviously, the day received is a little tight. That's not the right answer. Working up from the bottom, C, the money must be deposited in trust account within 3 working days. Working days is not a term you're going to see in a contract like this because it's too nebulous. I mean, what is a working day? For some people, Saturday and Sunday are working days. Other people, weekends or national holidays are not working days. So you're not going to see working days. So it's either going to be calendar days or banking days. And if you were leaning towards banking days, your instincts are right on the money because that is the correct answer. It's banking days. So if the bank is on a holiday, like yesterday for June 16th, then that's a banking holiday. So it's not 3 banking days. So we go over this a lot in the new agent class, which is a 12-hour class you must take before your first renewal in our state. So, which is 2 years. So you get your license, you have 2 years, and then you have to renew it. And you have to get at least 18 credits of CE in order to renew your license. But there's 2 mandatory classes you have to take, and a third class. Let me explain that. The first mandatory class is a 12-hour new agent class. You must take that class in order to renew your license with the Division of Real Estate here in Utah. Second required class is a 3-hour mandatory class that you can take in one of 3 flavors. It can be taken in the flavor or the theme of property management. It could be taken in the theme of commercial or the theme of residential real estate. So you have your choice, one of those 3 classes. And they are things that they want you to know the more current. The 12-hour new agent class goes through a lot of stuff that's going to keep you out of trouble. But the 3-hour mandatory class, so if you take that one in the 12-hour class, that's 15 hours. And then the division, or not the division, but the Board of Realtors through the Utah Real Estate.com is going to make you join the Board of Realtors and the MLS. So you can get a key on your smartphone that helps you get in, that lets you get into houses and show houses. So if you take, in order to get that key, you have to take a 3-hour ethics class. So that's pretty much all your, really close to all your CD you're going to need. I mean, you got a 12-hour class, a 3-hour, and 2 3-hour classes would be 18 hours. So I suggest you take a whole lot of classes, I took 4 1-week classes my first year in the business, which allowed me to come back and get a broker's license in the state of Colorado where I was. In Colorado, it's a little different now. Everyone starts out as a broker, but back in those days, 45 years ago, it was a little different. So, okay, that's the first one. Okay, it's the difference between calendar days and banking days. Banking days, has a lot to do with money, and you've got a contract now, and You know, there's lots of money differences, lots of money amounts mentioned in there and how it's going to be paid. So, you know, that would have been a good instinct that you had. Let's go to the next question, please. We're talking about personal property now in the sale of a residence, a house. Any personal property that's included in a real estate purchase contract as part of the sale, A, will be transferred with a separate bill of sale at closing. B, becomes real property. What? Something's going to become real property just because you bought it? You buy a car, does that make it real property? No. B's not right. C, is not obligated to transfer. Okay. Well, I mean, if it's included in a real estate purchase contract, so they are obligated to transfer. B, must be included in the mortgage. No, mortgage loans aren't made on personal property. So those three, if you eliminate those, it only leaves you A, which is the correct answer, will be transferred using a specific bill of sale. So there's two transferring documents signed at a closing. You know, I mean, and there could be an assignment of a lease as well, but the two main documents in this deal are going to be the deed that transfers a real property, and also this personal property is transferred with a bill of sale. Okay, good. Number 3, prorations. Okay, prorations are completed based on which of the following dates is explained in paragraph 3.2 of the REPC. Now, in order to get through this exam, it is a timed exam, and that puts you under pressure. There is part of it which is national and part of it which is state. And you must pass each of those sections independently. So you have to have a passing score on both, okay? You can't ace one and be a little lax on the other. You have to have a passing score on both. So when it says paragraph 3.2, you're going to have a copy of the REPC on the computer you could look at, but switching screens back and forth in order to get to that's going to make you a little nervous, unless you're a computer fantastic operator. But it's not that hard, and you can do this. But what I strongly admonish you to do before you go take that state test is to read the real estate purchase contract. It's like 8 pages. You need to read it and understand what's on it. But more importantly, you need to kind of understand where some of these sections are. Now, obviously, a section, paragraph 3.2 is going to be in the front pages, and a section that has a bigger number is going to be on some of the back pages. But you need to be kind of fluid with what those are, because you might want to double check this. But it's going to be explained in paragraph 3.2, and that is the one that gives you the settlement deadline. So so the answer is, to this question, it is prorations are completed based on what? Well, we're going to use the settlement deadline, B. Okay, not the closing deadline, but the settlement deadline. Because you come in and you sign all the documents. A lot of lenders want those loan documents transferred to them so they can review them real quick before they transfer the money. Now, if there's been a long history of that title company working with a particular lender, they'll probably just send the money knowing that the title company will do a fantastic job and are happy with that. But hey, you're getting real close to really blessing someone's life here by getting them into their new home. And but the prorations are going to be based on the settlement deadline. You're not going to have to do a proration. You're, at least not on the sales exam, but you're going to have to check, and like this paragraph here might be something you might want to look at. So just being familiar with the REPC is real important. Read it a couple of times before you go in there, and maybe even work with it a little bit. Next question, please. Now we're going to be talking a tiny bit about agency. The agency relationship is created in the REPC by separate agency agreement, verbally or by assumption. So you just assume you have a fiduciary. You just assume that you have a relationship, an agency relationship. No, D is not right. Verbally, no. We're dealing in real estate. We have a statute of frauds, which is a state law, but it's pretty much the same in most all states. So there's a similarity. People buy real estate across state boundaries all the time. So having a uniform statute that's pretty much the same in the various states is real important because it helps people understand what they're getting into. And it will be created not in the REPC, gang. It's going to be created by a separate agreement, whether it's a buyer's listing or a seller's listing. Seller's listing, you're listing their house for sale. Buyer's listing, they're signing a contract with you saying they're going to buy a home with you, and you get to be their agent on that side of the transaction. Okay, let's look at the next question, please. Number 5. According to the contract, after closing, the buyer owns the home. But what happens to any rental agreements on the property? You know, a lot of houses that you may buy them because they are rented, or you may be buying a fourplex. It's all rented, or if you can find one for sale, or a duplex. You know, and it's important. So what lives on is the rental agreement lives on just as well as some of the provisions in the REPC. But what we're talking about here is C is the correct answer. They will remain in effect, and that's why you bought it. You know, it had a cash flow coming with it. And the bigger the commercial building, whether it's a high rise 5, 6, 8-story office building, those rental agreements, those leases become real important in making your evaluation on whether that property is something you want to get into or not. One of the big advantages of having a real estate license is that you get to actually endow, if you want to, if you decide to, members of your family by giving them your commission. A lot of lenders will let, if you're related to the buyer, will let you actually donate your commission towards their down payment and closing costs. So if that's something you wanted to do, that'd be really cool. Would really help your kids and others that you're working with get into a house quicker. Of course, you're not going to have that income, but that's okay too, if you have lots of income. Let's look at the next one. Who's responsible for any capital improvements, to the property prior to the settlement? You know, things that they want to finish or build up, or different aspects of the contract that they ask for something to be repaired or changed or replaced. Well, who's responsible for all that? Well, it's the seller. Still a seller's house. It's not the seller's house until that deed's recorded. So who's responsible for capital improvements to the property prior to the settlement? It's got to be the seller. I mean, you're not going to get a buyer to come in and fix and buy out, a new range and whatnot, probably, until it's their house. Okay. Okay, we're on question number 7. Which yours aren't numbered. That's okay. I know where the numbers are. The buyer received the seller's disclosure, and in the disclosure, they found out that the seller had replaced several main water lines throughout the house themselves. If they're not satisfied with the seller performing those repairs in lieu of a licensed professionals, what are their options? Well, the purchase contract A requires the seller to hire someone to redo the repairs. No, that's not in the contract. Now, if you've read the contract a couple times, you know it's not in the contract, so that'll be like a giveaway. B, the buyer has no recourse, actually under contract, to purchase the home. Well, no, that's not true. They have a total walkaway opportunity when they're doing their inspections and whatnot. C, the buyer can cancel a contract if they're not satisfied with the information provided in the seller disclosure. And that is the correct answer, gang. D, the seller cannot sign another purchase contract for at least 2 years. That'd be a nightmare. All right, so in this one, obviously, we're looking at the C is the correct answer. Okay. If there's something in there that that's why they were given an inspection period. So they can go out and look at it, and they can hire an inspector to come out and look at it. They can have their dad or their father-in-law come and walk through the property because he's a contractor and knows all about building. Whoever they want and choose for help in that regard, they can get, and of course it's up to them to pay for the fees too. But if the inspection doesn't come out well, they better walk away if it's something that they can't live with. A lot of times you'll find little repairs that are made and they're just kind of normal, people live with them. But the inspector will find them. Maybe there's a window doesn't close correctly or something, and You know, a lot of that is fairly normal, and sometimes you can negotiate with the seller if you want to try to do that in order to get that taken care of. And you know, it might be something that you just really need to do, and maybe not. Um, but that's one of the things that makes it fun. You know, you know, there's a mantra that you can accept when you get in this business. Mine was, you know, bless lives, make money. Bless lives, make money. I wanted to make money, but in order to do that, I needed to bless their lives. And uh, one of the things you can do is to let people know that this is kind of a standard thing, or it's not a standard thing. This is normal, or it's not normal. So if they walk through and there's a few $100s worth repairs, um, you know, it may not be in their best interest to try to get the seller to pay those, because the seller maybe they got two backup offers behind you, even for more money. So, you know, as an experienced agent, you can help advise them on what the nature of the market is at that time. And this is just kind of common. You know, they expect to have a few repairs, or don't. You know, if they want a brand new house, you could go show them new houses as well. And that would come with a builder's warranty for 1 year. All right, let's look at the next question, please. We're talking about this walkthrough inspection, but after the walkthrough inspection, which is true, okay, the buyer can require additional repairs. They can come back and say, well, here's some things I can't live with. You got to fix this, or I'm not buying the house. B, the seller no longer is liable for the condition of the property after a walkthrough. No, I mean, it's still their house, guys. The buyer will be removed to write up a property condition. A buyer will be required to write up a property condition report. And but after the walkthrough, the correct answer to this one is D. The same contract terms remain in effect. Okay, this is your right to take a look and a close look at the property. Maybe you just walk through from a 15, 25-minute walkthrough, then wrote up an offer. Well, now your offer is accepted, and now you're getting your inspection done, which is all accounted for and delimited and documented in the REPC contract. Okay. All right, so let's look at the next question, please. Liquidated damages. Okay, Mark, next question, please. Dan, next question, please. Mark's not with us tonight. Okay, liquidated damages mean that A, the damages are converted to a dollar amount. B, the damages go to mediation. C, the damages go to court. C, the damages are held in escrow. And none of those are true. The correct answer is the one on the top. That is the longest answer as well. The damages are converted to a dollar amount. And that's what they mean by liquidated, is that we've come up with the dollar amount, and this is what we'll accept. So the contract defines the earnest money. That if there is a default, there's some choices that could be made, and one of them is just to take the earnest money and walk away. But if they take that earnest money, it's liquidated damages, which means they agree that's all they're going to go for. So they might want to refuse the earnest money and then sue for bigger amounts. They might want to do a lot of things based on what their attorney tells them to do. But liquidated damages means that they're converted to a dollar amount. Okay. And that's defined in REPC. You'll see that term when you're reading through there. Okay, the next question, please. According to a real estate purchase contract, which we abbreviate and call the REPC, what happens if the seller defaults? Okay, now we got a seller, put their house up for sale, did some fix up, clean up, maybe a little painting, who knows, but now they decided not to sell again. What are some reasons why a seller would do that? Well, one might be that they can't find another house to buy. The market's been kind of tough in Salt Lake, and so move-up buyers many times will put in their new home under contract before they put their old one up for sale, because they don't want to be homeless. This guy has put his house up for sale, and now he doesn't want to sell it anymore. In fact, he's going to default. Maybe his new job fell through in Phoenix. He was supposed to move to Phoenix, but it didn't work out, so whatever. But according to REPC, what's going to happen? A, they must pay an amount equal to the earnest money and liquidated damages to the buyer. Yeah. Now, if you had read the REPC, you would have seen that comment, that sentence right in the REPC. Okay, so that is the correct answer. B, they must pay an amount equal to half the earnest money. No, it didn't say that at all. C, they must pay an amount equal to double the earnest money. They didn't say that either. The contract is canceled with no recourse against the seller. No, that's not true either. Okay, so sometimes just logically looking at these things, you know, you can ferret out the answer. Problem is, it's a time test. So you need to answer a whole bunch of questions in about 20 to 30 seconds, which will give you plenty of time to answer some of the longer ones you really have to think about, or even do some calculation on, or whatever. But there are remedies for default, and you need to know what those remedies are, because that's a very common question you might actually get asked. Let's go to number 11, please. Okay. Oh, by the way, you know, this could be a two-way conversation. If any of you think, well, that's kind of quick, you know, there's a follow-up question on that. Go ahead and speak up, and we'll get that answered for you. You know, we can take, you know, we're doing great, okay, on time, but we only have a few questions left. So if there's some other things you want to talk about or ask, you know, kind of jot some notes to yourself right now, because we'll be getting there in just a few moments. Agent F has received an offer for their client's property. Cool, I love that. That expires on Thursday. On Friday, their clients wants to accept the offer. What can F do? Well, what F should have done was sign it yesterday, okay? Because it expired. Okay, so let's look at our answers here. A, have the client sign the agreement, call the other agency if they'll accept it. It's too late, it's already expired. B, have the client meet with the buyer to sign the offer. The client meet with the buyer sign. Well, okay, I don't care, but that's still too late. The offer's already expired, right? Expired, yes, on Thursday. This is Friday. Meet with the other agent to sign the offer. Well, the agents can't sign the offers. D, ask the other agent for a new offer since the original has expired. Well, out of all those, what do you think? You got to go with D, guys, because these dates are, well, they're kind of written in stone, you know, and if they need to be changed, they need to be changed in writing with an addendum, which we're going to talk about a little bit right now. Next question, please. An addendum. All right, which of the following uses is not legal use of the state-approved real estate purchase contract addendum, which is the form really which just has a lot of lines on it, so you can fill it out what you want, okay? So which one is not a proper use of this? Submitting a counteroffer. Well, that's what we use them for. Counteroffers. It says counteroffer or addendum. Okay, you just check that it's a counteroffer. Alter language in a real estate purchase contract. Yeah, that's a legal use. Add terms and conditions. Well, that's a legal use. D, create a commission obligation for the seller. What do you think about that one, guys? Well, that's your right answer. Is the commission obligation for a seller is the listing contract, not the real estate purchase contract. Okay, make sure you've got one, because no matter how good a deal they said you did and how excited they are, if you don't have a contract that they've signed that obligate them to pay a amount of commission, whether it's a fixed fee, whether it's a percentage fee, and what that percentage is based on, usually it's the sales price, could be a lot of things. I had lunch today with a builder group, and they were touting all their properties and, you know, trying to get some realtors that they respected and know a little bit more familiar with their products. And they, you know, they're part of the board, and they've actually signed cooperation agreements and whatnot, and they publish on the board in the MLS what the BAC or the selling commission is going to be. So But that still doesn't obligate the seller. What obligates the seller is he signs a listing contract with the broker, the principal broker. That's what obligates the seller. So always get those signed, and you'll be a happy camper. But that's what creates a commission obligation. Let's go to number 13, please, Dan. Okay, now we're looking at a sales agent's written offer. This is great. You got to write offers, a lot of them. The buyer and the seller agree to change the closing date. Okay, so what do we have to do to change the closing date? Look at A, change the actual contract, have them initial the changes. Modify the contract by completing an addendum. That's warm and fuzzy. Hang on to that one. C, send a letter to the title company notifying them of the change date. Or D, complete a change of date form. Well, we don't have a change of date form. We do have addendum forms that we can use to change dates and modify an agreement. So the correct answer to this one, guys, is B, modify the contract by completing an addendum. Okay. All righty. You can do this. Okay, you can pass this extensive state examination with the C minus 70% and get your license. If you're going for your broker's license, you're going to have to get a good solid 80%. Okay. But you can do this. Dan has a wonderful school. He keeps things updated. We do these classes every other week. You're welcome to come and ask questions. I give you my secret cell phone number. It's 801-556-8000. That's 801-556-8000. Operators are standing by. You can call me. You know, if you're confused about something, the last thing I want you to do, the last thing, and don't do this, okay, is to spend 3 hours trying to find it in your written material. Don't do that. Pick up the dang phone and call me. We'll spend a quality 4 minutes on the phone and you'll understand it. Is that a nice offer or what? You know? So I get calls, 3-4 calls a week is usually about what it runs, and sometimes more, sometimes less. After the first year, we get quite a few more. Okay. Dawn says she's going to call. She needs help. Good. We'd appreciate that. And I'd appreciate it. It gets lonely on the other end of the phone if you guys aren't calling. Okay. And I'm happy to help. Been doing this for over 45 years, folks, and written parts of the exam for the various examination companies. In fact, there was a period of time there where I wrote the whole exam for Texas. I wrote the whole dang thing. But don't do a lot of that kind of work anymore. I'd rather be the guy that gives you the answers than the guy that gets you to flunk. Okay. Well, we appreciate you being with us tonight. Does anyone have any more questions? Text it now. Well, Dan, thank you very much. This has been a great series of questions. The REPC contract is one of the things that they really test on quite a bit. Please take my admonishment and read it at least 2 or 3 times before you get into that exam. And if you have questions, give me a call. Okay. Thanks, Don. And thanks, David. Thank you for being here tonight. And we'll see you out there. This is a great time to get into business, by the way. It's going to be really good.